Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Zoom session on K-State's Master of Arts in Teaching program. My name is Tom Vance. I'm director of K-State's MAT. And what we'd like to do tonight is just briefly explain our program and answer any questions that you might have. And wow, what a great turnout. Looks like we're going to have about 20 participants here, which is fantastic. And I appreciate you taking a little time out. If you can find the chat bar, it's usually up in the top or down in the bottom. If you scroll over, with your cursor up at the top or down at the bottom, why don't you just type in where you are from, your name and where you are from. So I'm going to do that right now. My name's Tom. And I am currently in Morse Bluff, Nebraska. Believe it or not, Rachel Munt in Lincoln, Nebraska, just down the road. Gee, it won't let me type right now because we're still having people enter enter our room. Overland Park, Taryn, I see you. Emily Burr from Kansas City. Ashley from Fort Knox. Love it. That has a military ring to it, Ashley. A friend of mine was in the military at Fort Knox. So yes, I was right. Okay. And we're going to talk a little bit about military. Christy from Goddard, I see you, and Kelly from Lawrence, and Alexander from KC, and again, I'm Tom, and I'm in Morse Bluff, which is Nebraska, which is just north of Lincoln. And again, welcome. And we want to talk about a little bit about the elementary MAT program. Our program is we'll get to a lot of the features of our program, but we'll spend about 30 to 45 minutes talking about the program and its benefits, and then we'll open it up for questions, and we're recording this. You probably got that message, and we're going to send it out to folks who weren't able to make it tonight. So first of all, let me tell you a little bit about how this whole thing started. 7 years ago, we used to get calls at K-State from people like you, really great people that already had an undergraduate degree. Most of them already had careers. A lot of them had experience working in schools. Many of them had kids of their own, and they'd say, hey, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was 19 years old. I ended up with a degree that I've never used, and now I know I'd like to be a teacher. How can K-State help me? And we used to have to say, well, the first move is to move to Manhattan, Kansas, because we didn't have an online program, and then spend 2 or 3 years getting another undergraduate degree. So we've tried to eliminate as many of those obstacles as we can. And the program's 100% online, and it also only takes 11 months to earn a master's degree, and also earn your recommendation for a teacher's license, a Kansas K6 teacher's license. For those of you who are on the call that maybe are on the Zoom right now, that you're not quite sure whether or not teaching is for you, you suspect it might be, but you're not quite sure. On the screen now are a bunch of reasons why I think teaching is a really good career choice, in particular at this particular moment in time. I'm 56 years old, and I can't tell you how many of my cohort, how many of my friends that have been doing their jobs now for the last 30 years, like I have, and they're a little bit tired, burned out, looking forward to retirement, those kinds of things. because their jobs have become stale and boring and so forth. And teaching's never that way. You can call teaching a lot of things, but you really can't call it boring, and you can't say that it lacks purpose. I mean, spending time, a significant amount of time with young children and helping them build a foundation for their success, not only academic success, but just their success in life, helping them to perceive the world around them in new ways, in ways maybe that even their parents haven't taught them yet. It's a really huge deal. You know, my wife worked for 13 years as a teacher's aide in Wamego, in the Wamego School District. And she was at the K through 2 school. They do that in Wamego. And she used to come home every day with outstanding stories about kids. But she also always used to remind me how the first day of school, those kindergartners would be dropped off at the building, and some of the new kindergartners would be crying. Some of their parents would be crying, and then they would go to class, and they would go to their teacher, and some of them didn't know their letters or their numbers, or how to blow their nose, or how to line up for recess. And my wife would always just look at those kids with amazement, because by the end of the year, because they hung out with someone like you, a really great professional educator, they not only knew how to line up for recess and blow their nose and so forth, but they also, most of them, could read. And can you imagine how complex that is? You know, to take a group of 5-year-olds and say, well, look, kids, here's the deal. We have 26 symbols, and these symbols make different sounds. And when you put them together, they make even different sounds. And when those sounds are put together, they make words, and words can produce sentences, and sentences can produce stories, and so forth. A terribly complex skill, and yet we're able to pull it off. So often schools and teachers get such a bad reputation, when in fact, if most people knew the challenges that schools and teachers face, and what we do and what we can accomplish in spite of those challenges, I think most people, if they really knew, would be amazed. So teaching's never boring, and you have great purpose. We have a military person. Veterans make great teachers. Military spouses make great teachers, for all of the reasons why that military environment is so healthy and great. If you join the teaching workforce, you're joining a great work environment. As I mentioned, there's never a dull day, but also you're hanging out with great people. Generally speaking, teachers are great people. You know, you go into the teacher's lounge. Yes, there are some people that use the teacher's lounge to kind of complain and so forth, but mostly there's really great people that are there to help you. There's never, the demand for teachers, I don't think in my lifetime nationwide has ever been higher than it is right now. And we have a high demand in Kansas. There's a high demand all over the United States. I predict that will push salaries up in the future here. And we already have some things that we'll talk about where in Kansas and some national programs that are designed specifically to help people like you transition into teaching. One thing people don't realize about teaching is that once you have that certificate, it's really portable. You know, once you have a Kansas teaching license, you can transfer that all over the country. You'll have to fill out some paperwork. You might have to do something, like in Louisiana, you have to take a Louisiana history test. And usually they give you a couple years or so forth to take care of any little element that you don't have. And so you're highly mobile with a teaching license. We don't think about it, but teaching is this huge industry. I mean, think about the number of elementary schools throughout the United States and how many teachers we need to staff those elementary schools. So there's horizontal mobility or portability. There's also vertical mobility. So once you have your teaching certificate, you can become an assistant principal. You can become a principal. You could go on to school and become a superintendent or a curriculum developer or a university professor like me or whatever. It's this huge industry, and there's a lot to teaching rather than just teaching. I mean, I hope you all become teachers, love it, and want to teach the rest of your lives. But even if you don't, there's lots of other job choices within education. And few jobs offer the sort of freedom and creativity that teaching does. I mean, yes, there are standards, and yes, you'll have a supervisor, but you might be given a textbook and a set of standards and be told this is what we would like you to teach in your fourth grade class or second grade class or whatever. It's still up to you as the creative genius that you are to figure out how you're going to mold and organize all of that stuff to make it come to life for a group of kids. Judgment is a big part of teaching. We do not believe at K-State that you are just plug and play, that we can just tell you exactly what to do and then you just robotically do it and you too will be a great teacher. If that were the case, then every place would be teaching that. But of course, teaching's more complex than that. Students are more complex than that. Human beings are more complex than that. And every environment is unique. So it requires, careful judgment. Which set of skills, ideas, values, and so forth will I apply to this particular context, this particular student, in this particular school? And that's also what makes teaching fun, at least for me. So why should you choose K-State? Well, for one thing, I think we're the only, I say 12 months, but really it's an 11-month program. The program starts on May 16th and goes until like the first week in April. They're done this year. So you're completely done within 11 months. And I don't know of another program where you can earn a master's degree and also a teacher's license in 11 months. And we do that for Kansas students. About half of our students are Kansas students, Kansans, and the other half are from other states or other countries. And again, if you're from out of state, then you just plug into a Kansas teaching license, and then when you're done, you transfer that Kansas license to Illinois or Nebraska. We've got Lincoln, Nebraska on here, for example, or wherever. And we've had virtually no problems with anyone transferring their license. And if you're from out of state and you're worried about that, I don't blame you. And you want to email me separately about your particular situation, no problem. We have experts here at K-State that can help you out with that. All of our courses are online, 100% online. You student teach in local schools. All of the courses are also asynchronous. There's no course where you have to log on at 7 o'clock Central or anything like that. Although we do have live sessions in every course, don't get me wrong, you'll be able to interact just like you'll be able to interact with me tonight. You'll be able to interact with your professors throughout the course in live Zoom sessions, but they're not required. They're recorded and sent out to you, but they're not required. And then you decide where you would like to teach, student teach, and do your field experiences in a school close to you. We're able to give you your first choice like 95% of the time. Our program's also personalized. You're assigned a grad cat, who's a master teacher, a veteran teacher who still teaches, by the way, and they serve as a mentor, coach, and evaluator of your work from the beginning of the program to the end of the program. They are with you in every class, every field experience, everything from beginning to end, from your very first orientation to the job search. I don't think other programs have that. I'm not dogging out any other programs, but we have a big program. You'll be joining a cohort of roughly 200 students, and yet our students walk away from our MAT feeling like the program was really personal, interactive, individualized to them. I've already talked about license transfer. I think we're the only program in the region that is an online program that's rated as highly as we are by US News and World Report. I keep pretty close tabs on that. There might be one out there. I don't think so. I think there was one, but I don't think that there's anybody that's in the top 20 like we are. Which isn't the be all and end all. I mean, part of the rating, by the way, isn't necessarily the quality of our faculty or the resources we make available or that kind of thing. It's because we attract a really talented group of people, of students. Harvard gets their reputation mostly off of the students that they attract, or Cal Berkeley or whomever, because you'll be going to school and rubbing elbows with really smart people. And the MAT is that way too. I'm not saying we're Harvard, but like this year, we have a PhD in physics that's doing an elementary degree. She was a very successful university professor, but now wants to be an elementary teacher the last 5 years of her working life. And we've had lawyers and architects and all kinds of different professional fields, social workers and psychologists and all kinds of different fields. So it's great. You get to rub elbows with some really talented people from all over the country. There'll be people in the inner city, people in rural areas. So that's really awesome. And you might think that $15,828 is a lot of money, and it is. It's about the cost of a nice used car. But if you look at other programs that offer something similar, USC, for example, has a similar program. It's 2 years. And I don't know if all of the courses are asynchronous or not, but I know that it costs like $55,000 to go to school to get an MAT and a teaching license at USC. So, everything's relative. You might find a program or two that are a little cheaper than ours, but I doubt that they offer the other things that we do in terms of it being personalized and the convenience and the time and so forth. So we represent, I think, a really good value and are competitive in a national market. I frankly tell people to shop around because we've done our homework and we know that we beat nearly everyone in the country across the variables that are most important to students. I will mention that we just got our residency program approved at the secondary level. And what you say, well, Vance, what's a residency program? Well, a residency program is if you can find a school that wants to hire you as the teacher of record for next year even, you can be paid as the full-time teacher and do the MAT at the same time. But again, KState can't find you that job. You have to find the job yourself. And again, that program at the elementary level has not been approved by the State Department of Education. It should be in all likelihood, I'm 95% confident it will be approved before next school year. So if you know of a job in your town, at your local school, many of you work at schools, I know that, and you might know of an opening for next year, you want to mention to your principal, hey, K-State's going to be starting an elementary residency program. Would I be allowed to apply for that job now? And you can call Tom Vance and talk to him about their new residency program. That would be just fine. I mean, we're really confident that it's going to happen, that it will be approved by the Kansas State Department of Education. So those are a few of the reasons. There are others, but those are a few of the reasons why you should choose K-State to transition to teaching. So here are the courses. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I don't want to take up too much of your time tonight. But basically, in the summer, the May intersessions considered summer too. These 3 courses are just sort of getting you ready to go out into the fall semester and go out into the schools for your practicum, which is 64 credit or 64 hours out in the schools, whatever school, local school you choose. And one of the another advantage of the MAT is you do that field experience in the fall, and you'll be in the same classroom with the same teacher, with the same kids in the spring semester when you do your student teaching or teaching internship down here. So when you start your student teaching, you're not starting from scratch. You're not going in and introducing yourself on the first day and trying to learn kids' names for the first week. You'll have all that stuff done and behind you. You will have taught 4 times before the student teaching semester ever starts. Our goal is that you're a fairly confident and competent teacher by the time the spring semester rolls around. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The fall semester, you've got these 2 big methods classes that are challenging. And then you got your first 64 hours out in the field. The fall semester is probably more intense for most students because most students continue to work during the fall semester. You know, maybe you take off Tuesday and Wednesday mornings from your job so you can accomplish your 64 hours out into the schools. And so this is a challenging semester for most people. Then you do an intercession class, which is teaching health, movement, and fine arts. And that course also helps you transition from the practicum to student teaching. And then you do an action research project. You have to do that to get a master's degree. There has to be a research course in your sequence, but Dr. Clark does a great job of incorporating that class into your student teaching. Never have had one complaint about it. In fact, just quite the opposite. A lot of people praise that class and how great it was and how much they've learned and so forth. Then you do student teaching. Student teaching is full-time. You can't do your full-time job and be a teacher full-time at the same time. Now, there are ways, you know, I get the fact that some of you, you know, money is a problem. We're going to talk about money here in a second, but you know, we might be able to work out something where, you know, you teach half days for a longer time horizon. But generally speaking, like 90% of our students do full days beginning the first day in January when the kids go back to school, you know, like January 3rd or 4th, and it runs until the kind of the end of the first week in April, whatever that is. And that's longer than 12 weeks, I know, but there's spring break in there and other things. So that's what it is. And then you do a master's project. That's the culminating activity for the whole program. And actually, we put you in that class. You sign up for it in the spring, but we actually put you in it right as you're not long after you're admitted to the program, so you can have a good idea of what it is that what the final exam in essence is going to look like. So let's talk about money. Nationally, there's teacher loan forgiveness. And by the way, my colleagues on Global Campus, Brittany Burgess and Diane Leon, who are on this Zoom meeting tonight, will send out this PowerPoint to all of you. And all these things are clickable, so you can click on them. But you need to, and I need to change, this should be applied for 2021, 21, 22, and 22, 23 FAFSAs. Sorry, I need to update that. But there's teacher loan forgiveness, a federal program. You've got to teach in a Title I school for 5 years, and then you get $17,500 or $3,500 for every year that you taught in that Title I school. The good news is most schools in Kansas, most schools in the United States are Title I schools. And by Title I schools, I mean have 35% of their kids with free and reduced lunch. If you go to that site and dig around, they list all of the schools that qualify as Title I schools throughout the United States. Again, apply for the FAFSA. Student loans are available to you. You'll be a full-time student beginning in the summer through the spring of next year. And if you're in Kansas, we have the Kansas Teacher Service Scholarships, and that's $2,217 for the fall semester and $2,217 for the spring semester. And that's just free money. These are not based upon academics. These are not based upon income. These are just trying to attract great people like you to become teachers. As elementary teachers, you can teach anywhere in Kansas. You just have to agree that after you get done with the program, you are going to teach in Kansas for at least 1 year after you're done. And so that ends up being whatever it is, almost $4,500. So that's roughly a third of the total price of the program, if you will teach in Kansas for 1 year, could be paid for. Many of our students, I would say probably a third of our students receive Global Campus scholarships. Again, we'll be announcing the elementary teacher residency. One thing I failed to mention is that goes from, if you do the residency track, because you're a full-time teacher while you're doing the program, we expand the time horizon. You take the same summer classes, so the summer classes are the same, but we expand the time horizon that you'll be doing the program. And so it turns out to be an 18-month program rather than an 11-month program, which is not a huge deal. And then veterans, if there's any veterans on the call, Troops to Teachers will be restarting. I'm the Kansas director of Troops to Teachers, by the way. It will be restarting again in the next couple months. And there's also the new Skills Bridge program, which you should also check out, where the military will pay you, in essence, to learn how to be in this case, a teacher. So admissions requirements. By the way, all of you, we will send you an application fee waiver, so you don't have to spend the $65. We'll send you a waiver code because you have logged into this Zoom session. Does that happen automatically, Brittany and Diane? Or do
No, since they are individualized codes, when you are ready to submit your application, please email us at online@ksu.edu, and we'll have that email up later as well. So you can email us at that email and we will get that application fee waiver code to you.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And you need an undergraduate degree, and you might say, well, Vance, I'm not going to graduate until May. No big deal. You can still apply. We can still admit you. We can admit you provisionally. And then you just have to show proof that you got your undergraduate degree. You can say, well, Vance, I'm not graduating until June. No, again, no big deal. July, no big deal. August starts to become a big deal. You'll need to reach out to me. And after August, you're just going to have to wait till the next year, in all honesty. And then if your undergraduate GPA is not 3, it's not a huge deal. If it's less than 2.5, if it's less than 2.6, you should email me separately and we can talk about your particular situation. If it's less than 3, just add a paragraph to your application explaining why. We get it, by the way. A lot of us weren't stellar students either when we were 19 years old. We get it. Honestly, I flunked out of college. I was kicked out of school when I was 19 years old and had to work my way back in, long story and all that stuff. So I get it. It's a judgment-free zone. So don't freak out if your GPA is not quite up to par. We are the state university, and our mission is we're nonprofit and public and all that stuff. And so our mission is to help you, to serve you, our students. But we also have a moral obligation. If we feel like you can't cut the mustard as a teacher or in our program, we do have a moral obligation to tell you that and to not take your money, in other words. And so, but that doesn't happen very often. We're rated number 17 in spite of the fact that our acceptance rate is really high. I don't know what it is, but it's in the 80s or 90s percents. You'll also respond to 3 video questions, interview questions. They're really easy. Why do you want to be a teacher? What do you think you can add to the lives of students? That kind of thing. Don't study for it. You don't have to worry about it. You just, record it and upload it and to your application and move on with your life. And then just the names and emails of 3 recommenders. And they can really be anybody. I mean, ideally, they would be people that have some understanding of your abilities as a student or a teacher, but really they could be anybody. So that's the admissions process. And again, out of the 200 or so students in the cohort, probably 130 or 40 will be elementary, and 60, 70, 80 will be secondary. And so our elementary program is really a lot larger, at least right now, than our secondary program. FAQs, can I continue working? Yes, most of our students do until student teaching. And say that you're a para in a school right now. Well, then, oftentimes you'll just do your field experiences in that same school, perhaps in the same classroom that you're a para in. And so we just work things out with your school. We work it out. You select the school, but then we work it out with the school. We do a memorandum of understanding with your school district about what you're going to be doing and that kind of thing. So field experiences are in local schools, and then you record 4 lessons in the spring or 4 lessons in the fall, 4 lessons in the spring, and upload them to a password protected spot in the cloud. And then your GradCap, your mentor teacher, will watch them and coach you and tell you that you did a really good job here and that you might want to think about something different there and that kind of thing. And then you'll also get feedback, of course, from your cooperating teacher that's working with you right there in the school. At the end of this, our elementary students will get a Kansas K-6 initial teaching license. Same license that everyone else, no matter where you go, it's the same license that you get. If you're in the residency program, you'll start off on what's called a Kansas restricted license. And then after you're done with the program, you'll move to a Kansas K6 initial teaching license. And so that's the same everywhere, no matter where you go to school. And the schools aren't the ones that give you your license. We recommend you for a license to the state of Kansas. But of course, they always take our recommendations because we're the ones working with you closely. So as an elementary teacher, get this, as the holder of a Kansas K6 license, you can test into nearly any other secondary subject. So say you teach elementary for a couple of years and you decide, I'd really like to teach, 7 through 12 English language arts. Great. Take the praxis test in that subject area. And if you pass it, you can be certified in that. Interestingly, you can test up from elementary to secondary, but you can't test down, so to speak, from secondary to elementary, which is interesting. And but that's the way it is. And we've already talked about transferring your license to another state. It's easy peasy. We've had dozens of students from Nebraska, Missouri, Oklahoma. Illinois is big for some reason. We get a lot of students from Illinois. Not as many from Colorado, few from South Dakota, actually quite a few from South Dakota, a few from Wyoming, and then just scattered around. We've had several from New York and California and Florida and Kentucky. We've had several Kentucky. I saw Fort Knox earlier, and we've had several Kentuckys. So, and then next steps, you can, we'll send you how to apply, but it's real easy. You just go to our website. We'll have another webinar sometime in April. By the way, the application deadline is April 1st. And you should really try your best to get everything in by April 1st so you can have everything kind of in line and get registered for classes and you're not scrambling at the last minute. But honestly, we will extend that deadline beyond April 1st once April 1st gets here. But Diane, Brittany, and I are here to help you. I give all of my students, all prospective students, that's my cell phone number, and feel free to call or email me at any time. All of our kids are grown and out of the house, and my wife and I lead relatively boring lives, and you can call in the evenings or on the weekends or whenever. If I can help you with something, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to you. And I know Diane and Brittany, if you just wrote a quick email to online@ksu.edu, they respond to students thoroughly and in a timely fashion. And I think Brittany, Diane, what have I missed? Are we ready for questions?
I believe so. We have a few questions in the chat here that we could discuss. For the residency program, how would teaching internships work if they would be if they wouldn't have a main teacher to observe?
Excellent question. But yeah, for the most part, in our residency programs, the principal would be your cooperating teacher. So there wouldn't be somebody in your classroom at all time because you'd be the teacher of record, right, in the residency program. But we would still need somebody at the school that we could call in case there was a problem or we needed you for some reason. And usually the principal serves that role. And so it's not a problem. You still do your recordings and you still get evaluated by a grad cat and by your principal or whoever's serving as your CT. But the difference is you wouldn't have a cooperating teacher in the back of the room.
We have another person who is currently teaching second grade on a provisional certificate in Georgia and is wondering how that would work for them as far
We-
as the practicum and student teaching. And is this something where we should maybe have them talk to you in a
Yes,
separate email?
we can likely, what's her name?
Mickey.
Mickey, email me and I'll put you in touch with Eileen Wurtzberger. We have other folks like you in other states that are doing the same thing, and we've been able to accommodate them. There's a few things that we have to do on our end to make that happen, but I'm confident that we can make that happen for you in Georgia.
Another thing, just a point of clarification. Could you clarify the cost of the residency program? Does it cost more than the regular program?
Yes,
Explain that.
it costs $1,000, $1,011.20 more than the regular program, because there is 2 additional credit hours that you take in the summer to get you ready for your first day. In fact, I'll just go there. I'll show you. Let me see if I can't pull it up quick. I didn't know we were going to have so many residency questions, which is great. I don't know why. Here we go. So this is what your course of study would look like in the elementary residency. So the 2 extra credit hours happen right here. And that's just really to get you ready for your first day of school. And then we just spread out the courses a little bit. So it's not quite as intense, because, being a first year teacher is really intense in its own right. Okay.
Could you explain a little bit more about the weekly course load? How much reading / paper writing there is to complete on a weekly basis?
Yeah. Should I just go? Maybe I just go to let me just go to one of my old, I don't only direct the program, I'm also a professor in the program. And so let's just go to one of my classes, one of my MAT classes. So you just go to Canvas, which is our online learning system, and I should already be logged in there. And these are all my current things in Canvas. And then look, I should have, yeah, look, there you are. These 2, I haven't published them yet, but these are 2 classes in the MAT. And you can see I've got a lot of work to do. I've got a lot of classes down there that remain unpublished, but we will go to an old class here, and I'll show you how this works. Let's see, summer 2021. I think this was the elementary section. And so here's the class, right? And so we'll go to student view. This is what you would see as a student in my class. And what was the exact question again, Brittany?
The question was how the course load looks each week
Yeah.
in terms of, writings, readings, things that they'll need to make time for on a weekly basis.
So you can see this is there are 10 modules in a 4-week class. My class 702 is fairly intensive, but it's all stuff that you need to be able to do as a teacher: lesson planning and writing exam. And every student's a little bit different, you know, in terms of how much time it's going to take. Let's just take a look at an average assignment, you know, like, you know, some of them are fairly straightforward. You know, they have little videos that go with them where, you know, there's me up in the corner explaining this assignment. And we have an electronic book, by the way, you know, so you don't have to spend any money on a textbook. And we refer you to that. And then you hit reply and you post something. But there are other kinds of assignments too. You know, there's position papers, there's discussions, but there's also position papers, and they're 2 to 3 page papers that explain your thinking and reasoning on something, and your judgment. And then in my class, we also have some practice work, practicing writing objectives and questions. We have a lesson plan that you do, that you construct yourself, a research-based strategies presentation, and then a curriculum unit that you write. So these are all the assignments for my class. It's fairly intense. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That happens over the course of 4 weeks. But that's a summer class, and you know, your semester classes are spread out over 3 months. So, and my class is probably a little more demanding and challenging than some of the others, and maybe not as demanding and challenging as others. So I hope that helps. Other questions?
There's a question about the requirements for the provisional license, and do people need to take a praxis before getting that? How does that work?
No, you will not need the elementary residency. Once it's approved, you will not need to have a praxis score. The secondary folks will. I'm just going to show you the secondary residency. We don't have the elementary up posted yet because, again, it hasn't quite been approved. But these are the steps that we're telling actually these steps will be precisely the same. Gain admission to the MAT, apply for teaching positions, secure a full-time teaching contract, contact KState, enroll in 886. Then you apply for a restricted license at KSDE on Form 9. All this remains exact. This will be identical, in fact, for the elementary residency. The difference is, to become admitted to the secondary program, you need a praxis content score. You do not need that in the elementary. Repeat, this just in, no praxis required for admission to the elementary MAT. You'll eventually take 2 praxis tests, and our pass rates are 97.5% on both, by the way. So we have very high pass rates, and you can take them again if by some weird fluke you don't pass them the first time. But most people do pass them the first time, and they take them second semester. They take them during student teaching. So that's when we do them. Other questions?
For the Kansas Teacher Service Scholarship, does that year of required teaching count if they are already being a full-time teacher under the residency program, or does it have to be after?
Great question. Has to be after. But the good news is, if you're in the residency program and you could get 3 semesters of assistance, and then you teach for 1.5 years in a Kansas school, and you for the third semester. But yeah, it has to be after. I mean, I don't run that program, and I'm just assuming it's that way. But you can check with the Kansas Board of Education, Kansas Board of Regents, does that scholarship. I'll show you where it is. And again, folks, this is just free money, and you've really got to take advantage of this. Kansas Teacher Service. I hope that this is helpful, me taking the time to do it. I've had other people say, yeah, Vance, you should take them to places and so that they can see with their own eyes what you're talking about. So I'm trying to do a little bit more of that than I have. I'm 56 and I'm still trying to learn tricks of the trade for what here it is. And look, there's elementary ed. It's in a hard to fill discipline, and it says 1920, but it, like us, they're sometimes a year or two behind on things. So yeah, you're in a hard to fill discipline, which means that you can teach in an elementary school anywhere in Kansas. If you were not in a hard to fill discipline, like secondary social studies, then you would have to teach in one of these geographic areas. So you can reach out to them to find out more about, and their priority date is May 1st. So it would be great if you could get into the MAT, get admitted to the MAT, and then right away, maybe the same day, you reach out and fill out their paperwork. Okay. Other questions?
So for the residency track, we have a question about the methods classes that you take. And do students need to teach lessons during those methods classes in the classroom during that time? Can you kind of explain that?
Excellent question. Yes, you will. You'll notice that there is a field experience associated with both the fall and the spring, as well as the fall semester. And so, yeah, you will have, submit video recordings, and you can record things just super simple, by the way. You can use your phone, you can use, a laptop, you can use a notepad, what do they call those things? A tablet. Just set it up in the back of the room. As long as we can hear and see the things fairly well, that's good enough. And it's not like you have to have a professional videographer or anything there. Then you upload. We buy for all of our students access to software called Go React. You don't have to buy it. We buy it for you. And then that's what you interface with. And that's how, and it's super great too. I mean, your GradCat can watch you, right, from their computer, and then just stop the video, make a comment right at that particular moment. At 14 minutes and 20 seconds into the video, your GradCat made the following comment, and so it's, in some ways, it's better than actually being there and just watching you teach and then having a meeting with you after, which is what we normally would do. But it kind of loses a little bit of its luster, when you're just sort of reflecting on it, rather than you can go back and watch that 30-second clip where you had this unbelievably great interaction with this kid, and your GradCat's commenting on it, and maybe you didn't even think about how great it was, and it makes total sense after you rewatch it, if that makes sense. So, other questions?
We just have a couple more. For student teaching in the spring semester, must it be full-time for 12 to 16 weeks, or can it be like 2 or 3 days a week for a longer time period, or half days, 5 days a week? How would that work?
We can do that. Email, it's possible. We've done it before. Again, 90% of our students just do the full-time from the beginning of January until the first week in April. But we have had students that have done half days and extended out into May, or even done it over 2 semesters. So all of that stuff is possible.
And then is there a difference between private and public elementary schools as it pertains to scholarships and loan forgiveness? As well as can someone teach at a private school during the residency if it gets approved?
Yeah, there's no problem with teaching at a private school for, and we have many people that teach in private schools or private religious schools, that participate in the program. And the same would go for the residency. That's fine too. And I don't think we can go back to, but I don't think does it say anything about it, you having to do it at a public school? I mean, you can ask them for sure for the we don't run that, they do, but um, but I don't see it on there that it has to be. So when we used to do these fellowships, $6,000 fellowship. We don't do them anymore, unfortunately, but um, that the funding for that ran out. But we used to give them to, it was federal money, and we used to give them to people that taught in private schools. So I think it's fine.
Um, we have someone who has their degree in music and has found several elementary music teacher positions available. Would there be any complications to teaching in a specialized area like music while completing the MAT residency?
It makes it a little touchy, a little difficult. We're giving you just a K6 elementary license. So you would have to, in addition to teaching music, you would have to spend at least 50% of your time doing, so-called regular, regular course load of an elementary teacher. So it would be a little sticky, but not completely undoable or not possible. So just email me, reach out to me, and I'd be happy to connect you with Eileen Wurzberger, who is a magician at making things work. I mean, she thinks outside the box, and she's very good at helping people. I mean, come on, we get that you're adults, we try to accommodate you and your busy lives as best we possibly can. I mean, if as long as we're not breaking any laws or doing anything unethical or that would be bad for kids or for you or what, we're gonna help you do it. Emily, yeah, your grad cat will be your mentor and supervisor during student teaching. Grad cats are all doctoral students at Kansas State University, and they are all currently full-time teachers as well. So that's how you become a grad cat. We do have former MAT students that are now grad cats. I mean, the MAT's been going on for 7 years now. So I think you've answered
Awesome.
anything else.
Yeah, I can pause a moment and let anyone ask any other last
And
minute
I will, there
questions.
was a question about whether or not I would stay on to answer more individualized questions. The answer is yes, I would be happy to stay on for as long as you would like. And again, what am I going to do? I'm going to go watch. This may say something about me. I don't know. My wife and I, because our kid, you're going to think something bad about me, I know, but we're watching, it's called Euphoria. We're on season 2. My kids are big on it. It's a little out there, I'll admit, for us, but we told the kids we would watch it. They're into it. So we're watching it. Any other Yeah, Karina, yes, we will have a recording of this as well.
Yes, so for anyone who joined late or if you had any technical difficulties, this whole session has been recorded and we will be sending it out to everybody who registered and attended. That will be available as soon as possible. We typically send this to our marketing department so that they can put captions on it and all that good stuff, but that will automatically be sent to you. So if you want to view it back later, you definitely can. And this is just a reminder that everyone who attended this tonight is eligible for an application fee waiver. So please reach out to Diane or myself at online@ksu.edu, and we will be happy to provide you with that application fee waiver code. And if you have any questions or concerns that we weren't able to address tonight, feel free to reach out to Diane or myself or Tom, and we would be happy to help you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brittany. Thank you, Diane. Thank all of you. What a great turnout here on kind of a sleepy, rainy, cold, blustery March night. And we have 26 of you here. So we really want to see your applications. Go ahead and just, get started, pound it out. Reach out to me if you have any questions. Just reach out, no problem. We'll get you set up and get your questions answered. But for now, my name again is Tom Vance, and I'm signing off from Morris Bluff, Nebraska. We will see you later. I'm going to stay on for those of you who have other questions, but if you don't have any additional questions, see you later. Okay. Well, I'm going to stop share. I'm going to view gallery. Now I can see you all. So, Brittany, Diane, thank you very much. I don't think we need you any longer.